As one of their, I'm going to say former mind-controlled super soldiers that had been released into the surface world to do their job, and your job was Southern Belle. It was church infiltration, probably a few other things. You are watching their plan work, and when it works, it sets something off inside of you because they told you when this happens, this is what we will do, and now you're geared up as a good soldier to know how to fall in line. Is that kind of what?
Absolutely. You know, I do remember one specific time, like when Obama was getting into office, and, you know, the church is like, we have to pray for our leaders, you know, we need to pray. And I had a, like, extreme reaction. I was like, I will not pray for him. And, you know, like, it was just kind of excruciating that they would be saying that to me, which, you know, of course, all that came back to me. But, you know, also, like when you were in Nashville.
Yeah.
During the time when Clinton.
Yeah, that's right. Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump.
A major bomb went off for me. Like, I was terrified that she was going to get in because she did a lot of military programming. She is hideous. Like, she is so just horrible. Like the frazzle drip, the face off, torture. But I was terrified because I thought I was going to have to go back to them. You know, that if I didn't go back, then, you know, that I was going to get tortured. So thank God the Lord brought you and Christian, because, you know, I was able to get peace about that. And really, I'm thankful that the Lord brought, you know, Trump in at that time and kind of squashed that plan, because it would have gone downhill extremely fast had she have gotten in to office.
Well, and one of my opinions was, first of all, I always saw Bill Clinton as a continuation of George H.W. Bush, and then his son, a continuation of that. So it was a uniparty at that time. I saw Obama take over the uniparty agenda and carry it. And my thought around that time, so 2016, because I had woken up by that point. Personally, I was thinking, I think that if Hillary Clinton gets in, this next 8 years will be the end of this country. She'll finish the job.
Yeah.
I also the opinion that if she had gotten in, we would have already been in World War III.
Absolutely. It was a very quick, and it was a quick end. Like, they were going to insert a lot of super soldiers and a lot of activate them all over the world, and yeah, it was going to go really fast.
Now, sometimes when people think about super soldiers, and I'm kind of jumping rails here, but we've been using this term, and I just want to kind of clarify some things, you know, because I've had several people on this podcast, and they've been through super soldier programming, right? And some of them, if you were just to look at them, you know, you're like, there's no way you're a super soldier because you look like a normal person. You don't look like, you know, you have 18-inch biceps and you could run 12 miles at 6 miles, like 6-minute miles, and you could do like extraordinary feats as like a, you know, maybe a trained Navy SEAL or Army Ranger might be able to achieve some of these extraordinary abilities, and so people can be kind of dismissive of the concept of a super soldier as it's being employed. It's, you know, even in this conversation, it's like, well, you know, you have these soldiers all over the country, but they're in different jobs and roles. Now, When you look at your experience and seeing where some of the soldiers landed and what they look like, and the abilities that are programmed into people, I mean, how much will those abilities be affected by, I guess, just what you would look at on the outside?
Right. When you think of super soldier, they want you to think it's like the born identity, like that type of thing. But their asset is more of the mind, and how they can accomplish what they want to do by manipulation and control, other than overt outwardly things, because that causes a possibility of being found out. So if they can use your mind, then it's going to look like you. It's not going to go back to them. So they can cover it up a lot more. So it's just like normal, everyday kind of person. They just have no idea. Like, I had no idea. I was programmed to go into a Christian ministry that was making a lot of headway for SRA and all the things I've been through, and to really take down the ministry. They had a list of ministries that they were targeting and ahead of time, and they sent 4 of us at the same time to the same ministry to really take that down. But they didn't plan on that Jesus was going to heal my mind, and they wouldn't have power over me anymore. They planned that I would fall through, but I didn't consciously know I was going there to do that. Like, it's not. I think I want the misconception of like seeing like a super soldier or whatever as somebody that like knows what they're doing. They're going in to, accomplish something specific, but you'll have no idea at all. Like, consciously, you have no idea, because they have traumatized you to such a point that your mind breaks. They do it intentionally, so you don't even know. Like, for me, like, when I was sent to this Christian ministry beforehand, they had taken the manual from that ministry. They had taken their music. They had taken pictures. They had done rituals with, like, where they tried to look like them. So I just thought, I thought Truman Show. Like, Truman Show is so, it is so a programming movie. Like, it is like absolutely programming. It's what a survivor feels like. Everybody is in on it, and you have no idea. But I just thought that they were the same as they were going to take over my programming. I didn't have any idea.
I really appreciate what you just said there, because you said their number one asset is the mind. And it doesn't require, and that's my experience, right? It doesn't, for someone to have super soldier programming, it doesn't require that they can Hulk out necessarily, although sometimes once the demonic manifests on that part, they can. But like, it is the control and the abilities that can be activated. And some of those abilities aren't physical. There's psychic abilities. Yes. Or supernatural capacities, or enablement.
For me, the ability was denial. Like, I could stay in a denial state, like complete denial, and they use that as an asset.
Wow.
So I could have a part that would go in and do it, and then I have no idea at all. So they would kind of use my Jesus heart in a way.
Wow.
So, yeah, they pick out certain things about your personality, like God-given personality. They can kind of connect that. Like, even for me, like, they had me speaking at different places, like, because they did a lot of overlay programming for me. Like they had put, people probably don't understand this, but they would put somebody else's face over, not literally, but like torture you to such an extreme that they would put their picture in front, or anything about them. So then that part would specifically say, this is my abuser and you're not my abuser. The real abuser is trying to cover up everything they do. So they do a lot of that in reprogramming.
Wow.
To try to cover their tracks. So they would send me out and like speak at Christian places and stuff like that about these people they had programmed me to believe were my abusers. But they weren't my abusers. They never were. So a lot of times when they're targeting Christian organizations that they feel like are making a difference, like they'll do that, just so that these people, the super soldiers go in and destroy the ministry without even knowing it, or being aware of it.
That's, goodness gracious. Definitely been true and attempted in my experience that has been lived. And, I look at it from the other side of it, as I've been through some of the different tests and challenges, just trying to help people, I've had to look at it as, will I allow the pain that I've, on various occasions, incurred from those God sent me to help to discourage me from doing the assignment the Lord sent me to do. A lot of people will be attacked in the area of their calling, and that is specifically designed to discourage you from the calling itself, because to pursue the calling means you have to confront the pain and allow Jesus to heal it. And, it's actually cost me a lot to help survivors. I mean, for this long, it's come at a great price, and I've had to, year after year, make that choice. Like, no, Jesus can heal the pain that I've journeyed because he gave me this mission to help survivors, and we're not going to sacrifice the calling on the altar of pain. And talking with you is also very helpful because, you helped me to understand this many years ago, right? It's like, of course I was targeted. Of course this was sent in, this was engineered, this person was triggered. They were told, there was a lot of manipulation, a lot of strings got pulled behind the scenes of whatever that thing was. It doesn't make it less painful, but it does grant a lot of perspective and also grace. Unfortunately, not all ministers that have been called to help survivors have had that same revelation. And they've heavily internalized the hurt and the pain from being attacked, slandered, lied about, or whatever, or just literally set up to fail and walked away from the call, which is only worked in the favor of the evil people to create that deficit from the survivor perspective, like no one wants to help you. There is not going to be anyone that stands up for you. They won't even believe you, and if they try, we'll destroy them before they get a chance.
Absolutely, it's so strategic. They really plan it and calculate it down to, this is the day, this is a time that we're going to infiltrate. It's very deliberate. I can say that now, but I didn't know that then.
My goodness.
But one thing that gave me a lot of peace, just feeling so bad, because, the whole plan for me was to go and to say that the man and woman that helped me, that he had raped me.
Wow.
I did not say that. I got free. And then the Lord had me go back and tell the truth about that, because there were other victims involved that were saying contrary to that. Had me say the truth about all of it to people that were involved, police officers, judges.
Goodness.
I had to go and sit with them. They took my phone so I couldn't record it, but I was healed enough at that point to go back and make sure that none of what they programmed in me was going to happen. Like, I was free of all of that. But one thing that gave me peace was knowing the Lord showed me that even though they gave up so much, like so much of their time, their family, financially, like, people just don't do that. Like, you're an anomaly. Like, people don't do what you do, unfortunately. But the Lord showed me that they will have a stronger connection with Him than I could imagine because of choosing to do that.
Wow.
That He would give back to them in that. And you guys treat survivors like amazing. Like, it is really, and that's my prayer for you guys, like, that you'll just get more back than what you ever even gave in that relationship,
Wow. Well, thank you for that prayer. I receive.
Right.
All right. So, golly, there's a lot here. What I'm going to do is we're probably going to move into one more line item in this episode, and that is this plan. Now, I became aware, and I had Tara Rodas on this podcast last year, and she talked about how they knew from HHS records that there were 350,000 migrant children that had been brought over the border and knowingly distributed to cartel members, to people that had no business receiving these kids, sponsors that were not family members, with no follow-up. And she blew the whistle. She actually testified before Congress. She's like, the U.S. government, and specifically the Department of Health and Human Services, has been a complicit partner in the trafficking of migrant children into this country. Okay, and then the question is why? Now, you have some interesting thoughts on some of the agenda behind this and maybe some related things. I want to let you talk about it.
Right. Well, as we said, I was tortured and hurt by Biden. So I really, literally was in a fight for my life when, the Trump and the Biden election, there was a major bomb. It was deepest level bomb that they had planned. I knew that when if he got into office, that there were going to be hundreds and thousands of children taken into slavery, and really it was the way that they were going to build their army of people that they could, or children that they couldn't find, that just disappear, that they can't track. They deliberately did that. That was the plan for the beginning. It wasn't just an open border policy, that's horrible itself, but it was a strategic, deliberate plan to traffic and use mind control on children in order to infiltrate the U.S. with children that are controlled by them, people they can manipulate. Because as more and more people get free, they're losing their grip.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that some of the children that got trafficked over the border, and every number I think is just arbitrary, because at the end of the day, there's known and unknown. There's the children that got through the HHS, and then there's all the other avenues, including smuggling and other things. Do you think that some of these children, once over the border, weren't just maybe abused or labor trafficked or sex trafficked, that they were actually put through mind control and satanic ritual abuse with intent to put things in those children?
Absolutely. That was the plan from the beginning. That's why I was having such a extreme, I really had a breakdown, literally terrified when he, ended up getting in office, because some of the deepest level torture, the military program in torture, where they take you down, like, story after story after story in elevators down to the deepest level. And it literally makes you think that you're going crazy. But they have a lot of, I don't know, what it called, hybrids, they've done a lot of testing on cloning and hybrids and all that. So you'd see that going on. And for me, they had pretty much said, okay, if you get to this deepest level programming, this is how you're going to turn out. So I was terrified, that I was, I had been programmed to think that, that's where I was going to end up if I didn't go back to them. And all of these children, that's what's going to happen to them. It's to another level.
Wow.
Of the testing. You think about, they've proven with Fauci all the testing they've done on children, and he got away with it. All of that's been going on underground too. And so, I remember right before the new year, and it was just like every demonic force was like, I was literally shaking. It was like I could hear, you're either coming back or you're not. This is your decision. I literally thought I was going to die, because they do a lot of program where your body will respond to how they program it to respond. And, my husband could tell you, he thought I was dying. He literally thought I was dying. But in that moment, I remember that I just was saying, I choose Jesus. I do not choose them. And it was I got through it. Thankful for you. A lot of phone calls and
oh goodness,
last minute ministry, but
well, no, and I remember watching you go through that. During the election, and and that was at the height of the Q movement. There was a lot of momentum, regardless of what came of the Q movement itself. There was a lot of momentum behind the Patriot movement and taking back this country, and realizing there are hidden actors puppeting. So people were being more and more and more aware and more militant about that. And yet there was such a counter move, and they played it through what we see as the political left, but they really suppressed.
Right.
They shut it down and they silenced. They used COVID-19 as part of that. And then the censorship of the nation and the gaslighting of the nation began hectically, as we're watching so many things, and we're still arguing over the stealing of the 2020 election, and seeing so many anomalous activities. Throughout that election night, I remember how much you were affected by all of that. And I was praying. I was like, God, please don't let them win this one. And it's I felt very sad because of how negatively the election of Biden affected not just you, but many other survivors, because there was something that it was underneath everything. There was a knowing, this would have certain consequences, and it wasn't able to be stopped or, go another way. And still to this day, no one can really fully explain how he got, 86 million votes. It doesn't. The numbers are still fuzzy in my mind. But the reality is, it was a huge hit to a lot of survivors, and they did do the trafficking. And they used the U.S. government. They used silence to do. I remember when they were inaugurating Joe Biden, it was the height of COVID, and it was they were doing all of the parade with masks on.
Exactly.
And to me, I all I saw was silence programming.
Absolutely. It was totally silent. It was to trigger victims and survivors to, shut up, really, not say anything about what's truly going on under the surface,
Gosh.
Even with the racial tension and all of that, like, I know that I was programmed racially, like they do that on purpose to pit you against each other. So I think a lot of that was program individuals, that have been programmed that, this is the person that causes me pain, so I'm going to do this,
I have a bunch of notes of stuff that we were supposed to talk about in this interview. We didn't get to them. So we're going to have to do another round.
Sounds
But
good.
friends, unfortunately, this round is over. We'll be back another day. You've been listening to Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall. God bless and Godspeed. You've been listening to Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall. Visit me at danduvall.com, where you will discover merch, books, and the opportunity to engage in our private social network. Join the tribe by subscribing to our email list and supporting this podcast.